If you think about the hard-earned deprivations, including that of women, I don't think any individual can actually break through in any way. Now, that doesn't mean that people cannot escape. People do. Women become extraordinarily powerful in many gender-biased countries. Black people could become very successful in these. We got a good example now. All kinds of ways that can happen. And yet, if you want to have, I mean, that's really this is the opposite of what those who don't want any social intervention call trickle down. They can trickle up that little hole, and that can happen to an individual. But if you want to change the world, what you have to do is a breakthrough, and that requires breaking that sheet of ice. That requires huge combined social effort. In the absence of it, just the escapees just escape and settle somewhere else. And it's a thought that that has a lot of statistical connection too. One of them, for example, I found very early in the work, is that when you look at the impact of female literacy and female ability to earn an income, each of them individually could have an impact, but nothing like the impact when a whole group of people have acquire literacy and education. In fact, if you do individual by individual literacy related to such indicators, good indicator is fertility, because nobody's life is as much battered by constant bearing and rearing of children as that of young women. You find almost no correlation between individual income or individual literacy and fertility. On the other hand, if you do village by village studies and more district by district studies, then you find the impact of literacy in a huge way. In fact, there's some studies we did about 10 years ago using census data indicated, and this has been confirmed again and again, that in explaining the fertility differences in India, which is a good indicator of gender equity, because women's voice, young women's voice, always reduces the fertility rate. And that has a huge implication for the environment and population policy. That, in fact, the only two statistically significant variables are women's education and women's earning power. Nothing, and between them, they explain about 80% of the variation. And no other variable comes out to be statistically significant. And yet, at the individual level, you don't see this at all. So I think what the breakthrough philosophy indicates is the need to work together, whatever it is, the bell bajao and so on, these are all work together.